I applied to do my PhD, and then within the next few weeks found out that I was pregnant and I had a year maternity leave from the work where I was working at the time, where I was employed at the time, and he was just about a year old when I came back to do my PhD. So I was very torn about whether to do that or not, because when I had asked about the deferral, they said, yes, we'll give you the deferral, but just so you know, you can't come part-time. You will have to be a full-time student. And at the time, I didn't know exactly what that would mean in terms of workload, how many days a week I would need to work. So I did find out about the FCO office, and definitely accessing, the resources that were offered was a big part of me feeling comfortable making the decision that, yes, I will try.
I know of other parents at the U of T who are having to use food bank quite often, who are struggling to pay their rent, who find it very stressful on their studies and are considering dropping out.
I think there also needs to be a little bit more widespread recognition that we're not dealing with just the same things that single kids that live at home are. Balancing family with deadlines and that kind of stuff can be really tough, especially if you're taking like 4 or 5 courses. And, OSAP requires that we take at least 3 courses to be full-time and to get OSAP funding. I think the university can do a lot, and it would not cost them any money to do so. For example, when a student goes to the registrar's office to inquire about pregnancy, because most likely that will be their first stop, if they identify themselves as pregnant and keeping the child, I feel that that student should be immediately sent, or at least offered the opportunity to go and speak with a counselor about all the stuff that's available to them. I would have liked to have received a package that said, hey, look, check it out. These are the resources. These are the groups. This is where you can go. No one did this. I didn't know any of these things. I do remember vaguely getting a flyer for the family care office, but it's one of those things, you hand someone paper, they're pregnant, they don't know what's going on, hormones are raging, they're scared and anxious, and they take that sheet of paper, they put it in a bag, and they never look at it again. Maybe if they explained these things differently. I think they should also talk about finances with you right then and there, and say, for example, these are your options. If you do this, this is what could happen to you. If you go full-time, you can get this kind of support. Please do know that the college is here for you. Should you have an emergency, you can apply for an emergency source of funding, which I did at one point and received close to $3,000, money that I desperately needed. I had no idea that money was there for me to access until I went and told them that I need to drop out of school because I can't make it. This is before I had OSAP. This is actually how I ended up getting OSAP. I also think that they're lacking a breastfeeding policy. So I needed a place to breastfeed on campus. If they gave me a map and said, hey, by the way, here's 6 places that you can go to, or hey, these are your rights, do know that you can breastfeed anywhere you like, and nobody can tell you otherwise, I think that would have been very empowering. I wouldn't have to feel like I had to hide in the corner. I also think the university could educate its faculty members and staff to help deal with student parents. My friend, whereby she was writing a paper on single parents, took it to the writing center, and then the person at the writing center started talking about how single parents will always fail and giving her own personal opinions on single parenthood, not knowing that the person she was speaking to was a single parent. But even things like there should be a policy for how to deal with students who have children and are sick. Or sometimes it's something really small that sounds so silly. Her child had got her finger caught in some bookcase, and they didn't take him to the hospital, so she doesn't have that note. And yet parents would know that these are everyday occurrences. So I think maybe some sensitivity training would be really nice, so people at least know how to respond. It would be unreasonable to complain about lack of funding, in that once you do get your OSAP and you do make your story heard, funding will come. So they're exceeding my expectations in that they provided those minimal things that make my life as a student possible, like a child care center and UTAP and emergency grants. And Woodsworth College obviously is so supportive. They give food coupons to parents when you really need that extra bag of groceries and you can't afford it. They have the single parents group, which they don't have to fund. And this is my point, is that something as small as one employee taking 2 hours every 2 weeks of her schedule means the world to 5 or 10 or 15 women. It's not a big expense, and yet it changes the quality of life for us here at the university.